In this cycle alone, we've seen a few different ecosystems go through booms. You had Solana, you had Tron, you had Avalanche, but is Cardano the next in line to in fact see this big adoption? We are in fact already seeing some increases in terms of Cardano usage, and this could really be accelerated over time with some other big things coming down the pipeline. I do want to talk about that with you guys. Also want to address this comment from a viewer as well. So if you guys are new or haven't already, show your support for the channel down below. Hit that subscribe button, that bell. It's free to do. It'll keep you updated anytime there's new content live here on the channel. So I was reading through this article and I found this very interesting. The Cardano on-chain activity has seen some pretty significant growth this year alone. In fact, we have now risen to over 2.6 million transactions per day. That's pretty high up from where we were at before, guys. We've actually seen over 450 million processed in the first half of the year. So things have actually been accelerating. Daily active users are rising. While they're still not in the, hundreds of thousands per day or millions per day, these are promising signs nonetheless. And we've had a lot of things that are still working in our favor. We still have low transaction fees. We see a lot of bridges opening up, bringing ADA and access to other ecosystems. For example, we talked about obviously wrapped ADA being in the base ecosystem. I think that's a pretty big deal because obviously base, well, that's another one. Base has gone through kind of a boom here as well. And so now with this maturation of the Cardano ecosystem, are we about to see a pretty big boom? Well, we've talked about this before. And if you guys remember throughout the bear market cycle, we've gone through these periods where we've actually seen the Cardano ecosystem tested out. At one point, it was actually the either second or third largest NFT ecosystem in crypto. It was actually just behind Ethereum. I don't know if anybody remembers that from late 2022. We actually saw kind of a meme coin boom actually in 2023, obviously, as we went through that little meme coin cycle. So now what you've seen is an ecosystem that has gone through a ton of developments. We've seen obviously additional liquidity enter the Cardano ecosystem. We're starting to see stable coins take off just a little bit, and the doors are really opening up for this big boom in terms of Cardano. Does that mean it's going to happen today, tomorrow, the next day? No, but it will likely happen in a very unexpected manner. And really, we've done all the right things to get to this point. Now, I do want to talk about this comment, and a couple things that can actually take Cardano even further. But I found something funny that I wanted to point out to you guys. Apparently, if you search Luxide on YouTube, I am a musical artist. I apparently specialize in dance and electronic music. So apparently first album dropping soon, guys. I'm gonna have to work on that. So, but anyways, here's the comment that I wanted to talk about. This is Christian GTCS comments every single day. Appreciate the comments. Do bring about some constructive thoughts, and I want to talk about a few of these things because he said, would love to get a video done on these arguments. Rate cuts aside, the US not buying BTC for reserve is something I knew would happen, but something that would have been a major catalyst to explode BTC price we won't have now. Also, it wouldn't surprise me if we didn't get an ADA ETF approval on 10/22. We are being set up, and if BTC doesn't break and hold the next levels above 120K and clearly catalysts are fading, then we will see a top imminently, and what I predicted, a rug pull. Deep state undermines Trump and punishes retail. So appreciate the comment. You've been very bearish for a very long period of time. And here's what I will say is that, first of all, the Treasury basically contradicted exactly what Besant said. They're still testing out these budget neutral ways of actually accumulating BTC. So it's kind of a big fake out yesterday, right? Because Besant came out and said, nope, US won't be buying BTC. But now basically they're saying, well, we're exploring the ways that we can accumulate more BTC. And we don't know exactly what that means. We don't know what type of internal discussions are taking place. And we likely won't know until this becomes public. So it's kind of a big nothing burger, right? A little bit of a fake out event. Now, that being said, there are tons of catalysts that are still working in the favor of BTC, but still working in the favor of crypto and ADA in general here as well. So first of all, we still have crypto legislation that is coming down the pipeline. Remember, the not Genius Act, the Clarity Act is expected to be passed and signed into law by the early part of September. And that's a pretty big deal because that is going to greenlight probably a lot of these ETF approvals that we've been waiting for, including an ADA spot ETF, which now has multiple filings. But it's also going to bring around some other big things that are more bigger, broader scheme grand scheme of crypto rather than just the here and now. And what we're talking about is enterprise adoption and this push toward real world asset tokenization, because you've created now this structure that allows that to accelerate. You have to remember, this isn't 2017, this isn't 2021. We're now talking about the maturing of the crypto industry in general. And what that means is that, again, you're going to need to have something that is building tech for the future. The days of, we'll say fun meme coiny project things, it's kind of weird. Fun meme coin projects, they're not going to be gone completely. But as we mature and we start to see these things take off, you are in fact going to see those fade in terms of performance. It doesn't mean they can't do well, but when you have something like Cardano that has been building for this exact moment, that's where Cardano has a real chance to boom, right? We've talked about obviously real world asset tokenization in terms of Cardano before. In fact, there's tokenized gold that currently exists in terms of Cardano. And it's already being explored by enterprises. It's being explored by institutions and governments as well. I mean, this isn't really a new thing. It's not going to be your traditional, oh, we get this news and pop type deal. It's going to be more longer term sustainable growth where actually use is going to help Cardano see some pretty significant booms. Obviously, there's no guarantees. This isn't financial advice or anything like that. But I think the whole rug pull narrative is something that, first of all, you don't understand, but also completely gone. Because again, like I've talked about in other videos, institutions, enterprises, governments, as they're accumulating so heavily, they're not going to take these massive baths on assets, and they're going to be actively defending price. They're going to be accumulating, right? And you have to remember that ADA itself is something that right now institutions are accumulating. All right. That's why there is ADA spot ETF filings. That is why there has been approved ADA spot ETFs around the world. We're kind of at this point where Cardano and ADA are getting ready to boom. And while we're not seeing it yet, all the signs are there that it's about to happen. I hope that makes sense for people, right? So a lot of the bearish comments now, they don't really make a lot of sense, because we're getting to this point where, again, things are going to be pushed very heavily towards retail. All these larger entities, like we've talked about, they've tried to manipulate the market as much as they can to make sure that they have the right things in place, whether that's the ETFs, whether that's the exchanges, whether that's the pay rail systems, whatever it might be. They're trying to get all their tech in place so they can make all the money as they push to the masses. Luckily, Cardano has been doing some great things to stay on the decentralized front and really giving people kind of a safe haven as we head into those times, if that makes sense. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys. I love to see the advancement that we're seeing, and people need to understand that the market is going to look very different in a very short period of time. And Cardano has done enough to, one, stay relevant, but get ahead of the curve. So I appreciate you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hopefully that answers those questions, but have a great day. Catch you guys in the next one. Take care.